People often remark that attractiveness can serve as either a gift or a burden. In Celia's case, it became an instrument of control she had no desire to possess. Acquired at the tender age of 17 by Josiah Marrow, an owner who viewed her merely as a means to secure his lineage rather than as a fellow human being, she was compelled to give birth to 12 offspring for him. Every single one was snatched from her embrace before they could utter her name. Over the years, she offered smiles on command, followed directives without question, and observed the estate, constructed upon her agony, swell with prosperity. However, the moment her firstborn son was flogged fatally for addressing her as mother, a profound fracture occurred within her spirit. During the evenings, household staff noticed the gentle glow of candles dancing in the glass panes, accompanied by the subtle aroma of botanicals wafting through the corridors. Come morning, the lady of the house was discovered lifeless in her chambers, while the proprietor's wails ascended alongside the rising plumes. Outsiders believed she had been utterly defeated. They failed to conceive that she had simply been biding her time. For when a female's reproductive capacity is transformed into a site of mourning, the sole creation she can still produce is retribution. Prior to delving deeper, share in the comments your location on the globe from which you're viewing this. And remember to hit that subscribe button, as the tale slated for tomorrow is one you'll regret overlooking. The bidding platform in Savannah loomed like a shrine dedicated to avarice, sweltering under the intense rays of the Georgia sunlight. 17-year-old Celia directed her gaze toward a far-off horizon past the assembled throng, attempting to render herself unnoticeable even as she stood exposed to all. Her flesh tingled with perspiration and humiliation while unfamiliar males inspected her dentition, palpated her limbs, and remarked upon her physique. The bid caller's tone thundered throughout the plaza. Here's a prime young female, sturdy frame, mild temperament, ideal for domestic responsibilities, the onlookers whispered among themselves. Celia understood precisely what they perceived, not an individual but an asset. Her allure was no advantage, but a detriment that caused gentlemen's stares to persist excessively. Positioned at the periphery of the gathering was Josiah Marrow, his walking stick rapping restlessly against his gleaming footwear. His countenance was appealing in the manner of those accustomed to unchallenged authority, with smooth jowls framing a tidy whiskers and eyes that appraised worth in every survey. Adjacent to him was his spouse, Eleanor, her features concealed beneath an exquisite lace covering, her hands encased in gloves and balled into rigid knots. $500, announced a bidder from the assembly. 600, Josiah responded without lifting his arm, his words infused with the assurance of affluence. The offers escalated. With each escalation, Eleanor's posture grew more rigid beneath her luxurious wrap. When Josiah secured the purchase at $900, a sum that elicited gasps from the spectators, Eleanor pivoted so abruptly that her veil billowed in the warm breeze. Celia was escorted off the stage with a shackle encircling her wrist. As she passed Eleanor, she glimpsed the gleam of fair eyes through the fabric, eyes ablaze with such intense animosity that Celia hastily averted her own. "You've acquired yet another dependent," Eleanor stated, her tone taut like a stretched string. "I've made a wise investment in superior assistance," Josiah retorted smoothly. "The residence requires additional capable workers." Eleanor emitted a laugh that was fragile, resembling shattering crystal. "The residence? Naturally." The trek to the Marrow estate spanned several hours in a bumpy cart. Celia occupied the rear alongside 3 other recently bought individuals, all evading mutual eye contact. The Marrows traveled ahead in their opulent coach, the separation between owners and chattel distinctly evident. Upon arrival, Celia beheld a pristine white manor shining like an ivory against the verdant expanses extending to the skyline. To its rear were aligned wooden shacks from which tendrils of smoke ascended from stacks. An elderly African woman with compassionate eyes and a firm expression awaited near the cooking entrance. She donned a spotless apron over a worn gown with a crimson cloth enveloping her head. "Meet Miriam," Josiah introduced, scarcely glancing at the senior lady. She'll instruct you in your obligations." Once the Marrows vanished indoors, Miriam's rigid stance eased. She scrutinized Celia thoroughly, discerning the terror, the weariness, the marks on her wrists from the restraints. "Come along, young one," she murmured softly. "Let's get you situated." Miriam guided her to a modest chamber adjacent to the kitchen, where a slender mattress rested in the nook. "You'll rest here near the main building for early tasks." "What sorts of tasks?" Celia inquired, her voice a faint murmur. Miriam's expression remained neutral, yet her eyes conveyed timeless grief. "Whatever the proprietor demands," she replied. "I'm the birth attendant here. I've been ushering infants into the world for 3 decades," she added, pausing. "All varieties of infants." Before Celia could probe further, a lanky man materialized at the threshold, bearing logs for fuel. His limbs were toned from arduous toil, but his gaze held a subdued wisdom that caught her off guard. "This is Jonah's," Miriam explained. "He labors in the crops but aids inside occasionally." Jonah's inclined his head marginally. "Greetings to Marrow," he uttered, his timbre low and measured, though greetings hardly fits. That nightfall, Miriam demonstrated to Celia the methods for readying the sleeping quarters, folding back bedding, and which surfaces demanded scouring. The labor was demanding yet straightforward. Celia adhered to the guidance meticulously, hoping compliance might afford some safeguard. As shadows lengthened, Miriam grazed her arm tenderly. "Secure your entrance this evening," she advised in a hush, "although bolts don't always suffice in this dwelling." Celia complied, engaging the tiny latch before sinking onto her bedding. Her body throbbed from the day's exertions, and moisture threatened to overflow from her eyes. She recalled her parent, traded away 3 years prior, whose parting advice had been, "Remain resilient regardless." She was nearly asleep when the rasp of a key in her lock sounded. The latch retracted. The portal swung inward. Josiah Marrow loomed in the entry, illumination from the lantern highlighting his sleek features. He grinned, though the expression failed to illuminate his eyes. "My cherished Celia," he intoned gently, "I've arrived to extend a proper reception to your new abode." Celia backed against the partition, but escape was impossible. The confined space abruptly resembled a snare. "Please," she breathed, "I require repose for the coming day's duties." Josiah sealed the door at his back. "This constitutes the duties for tomorrow," he declared, positioning the light on the ground, "and for all subsequent tomorrows." The hours of darkness extended interminably. Celia withdrew profoundly into her psyche as Josiah asserted dominion over what he deemed his belonging. She anchored her vision on a fissure in the overhead planks, tallying the moments, intervals, durations until his departure. When he eventually exited, the initial dim dawn illuminated seeped via her narrow pane. She refrained from weeping. An element within her had solidified into frost. The dawn's radiance cascaded over the estate, tinting the landscapes in golden hues. Celia perched on her mattress's edge, clasping her ripped garment about her frame. Her physique ached. Her thoughts felt detached, as though observing from afar. Beyond her portal, she detected Josiah humming a lively melody as he ambled to the primary residence for the morning meal. The noise pierced her like a blade. The entrance creaked ajar, and the chief domestic, a mature woman Celia had encountered briefly the day before, peered inside. Her gaze expanded momentarily at Celia's condition, then contracted with comprehension and compassion. "Dress yourself, lass," she muttered, depositing a fresh outfit on the bedding. "The owners have a fresh acquisition, yet even acquisitions have responsibilities." The morning meal spread at Marrow Estate shimmered with elegant porcelain and metallic utensils that captured the early light. Eleanor occupied one extremity, her spine erect as a pillar, while Josiah reclined at the forefront, perusing a periodical. Neither exchanged words. The sole noises were the tinkling of cutlery and the muted footsteps, as Celia circulated the arrangement, dispensing coffee with unsteady palms. "Additional bread." "Darling?" Josiah inquired, without elevating his gaze from his reading. Eleanor's mouth compressed. "No, thank you." Celia advanced to replenish Josiah's vessel. As she inclined, his palm grazed hers, a contact too intentional to be inadvertent. Eleanor observed it, her beverage container clanging against its dish. The recent addition appears awkward, Alina commented, her inflection keen as a dagger. She might require further instruction prior to attending the meal. Quite the opposite, Josiah countered at last regarding his partner. I deem her exceptionally adept for a newcomer. His grin lacked warmth. Wouldn't you concur? Celia maintained her focus on the flooring, her visage a deliberate facade concealing the turmoil beneath. She had swiftly grasped that revealing less of her authentic self enhanced her security. The fabrics demand laundering today, Alina directed at Celia, disregarding her spouse. And the storage needs inventory. I anticipate completion of both prior to the evening repast. Yes, madam, Celia responded faintly, retreating into obscurity. You're burdening the young woman, Alina, Josiah observed. She's yet acclimating to our customs. Our customs, Alina chuckled that fragile chuckle once more. Or your customs, dear husband. The remainder of the morning meal transpired in strained quietude. Upon conclusion, Alina departed the space without further utterance. Josiah tarried, observing Celia collect the crockery. Disregard my wife, he remarked, standing from his seat. She occasionally overlooks her pious benevolence. He drew nearer, confining her between himself and the furniture. The sacred text instructs that subordinates must submit to their superiors in all matters. Do you comprehend, Celia? Yes, sir, she affirmed, her tone gentle yet vacant. The Almighty has positioned you here for a reason, he proceeded, his palm now upon her shoulder, much like Abraham with Hagar. I likewise must guarantee my descent persists, his grasp intensified. It is divine intent. That evening and numerous thereafter, Josiah visited her quarters with religious passages on his tongue and brutality in his actions. Each occasion, Celia receded deeper into her consciousness, erecting barriers in her thoughts for refuge. The days merged in a cadence of labor and dread. Celia mastered the household patterns, when to appear and when to vanish, how to foresee requirements before articulation, how to traverse chambers noiselessly where Alina might observe. Miriam emerged as her discreet mentor, imparting which plants alleviated discomfort, which induced slumber. Jonas provided fragments of parchment with symbols inscribed, educating her in literacy during pilfered instances behind the culinary plot. Insight is liberty, he murmured once. Even if your form isn't liberated, your intellect can be. Within 12 months of her advent, Celia's abdomen expanded with progeny. Alina observed with icy wrath as Josiah boastfully proclaimed to guests that his acquisition was yielding dividends. The heavens have favored our abode, he declared during one supper, while Alina prodded her meal with uncommon vigor. The delivery was arduous. Celia toiled for 20 hours with solely Miriam's aid through the torment. When her male child eventually emerged, flushed and wailing, Celia experienced an affection so vehement it alarmed her. Joseph, Josiah proclaimed upon viewing the infant, in honor of the biblical preferred offspring. For a fortnight, Celia cradled her offspring, feeding him in serene periods, imprinting the flawless arc of his earlobe, the minute creases on his digits. Then one dawn she awoke to an vacant bassinet. "Where is my infant?" she wailed, dashing through the domicile in distress. "Where is Joseph?" It was Miriam who ultimately disclosed the reality, drawing her into the botanical enclosure where privacy prevailed. Mrs. Marrow disposed of him, Miriam revealed, her aged countenance etched with lament. A merchant arrived pre-dawn, transported him to Charleston, they reported. Celia slumped against the enclosure barrier, a noise akin to a perishing creature escaping her maw. Miriam embraced her, swaying her as one would a youngster. "Quiet now," she soothed. "Fortitude is our sole asset. You'll require it for forthcoming trials." Time elapsed. Cycles shifted from sowing to reaping repeatedly. Celia's form, formerly youthful and robust, deteriorated from exertion and parturitions. Nevertheless, an aspect of her psyche solidified, becoming acute and vigilant. Annually or so, her midsection would enlarge, and another progeny would enter existence. Some she retained for months, others for mere weeks. Josiah christened them all, Joseph, Mary, Isaiah, Ruth, invoking celestial favors while employing Holy Writ to rationalize his transgressions. 12 progeny overall, 12 fragments of her essence severed. Alina never mellowed. If anything, her enmity intensified, more targeted, more calculated. She devised unattainable assignments, detected flaws where none existed, and most viciously, guaranteed that every offspring from Celia's womb vanished during Josiah's absences on commerce. A sickness claimed the youngster, she would assert, or the babe was too frail to survive. Josiah would fulminate, but never at a leaner. Rather, his ire descended upon Celia, as though her physique had betrayed him instead of his consort's machinations. 5 years following her ingress at Marrow Estate, Celia was tidying the disused chambers in the eastern section when she unearthed it. Within a chest brimming with antiquated fabrics lay a diminutive wrap, one she had adorned personally for Joseph. Her digits had unsteadily stitched his monogram, J.M., in a corner. Now that section was rigid with a somber, russet stain, blood. Celia elevated the wrap to her visage, inhaling profoundly. Beneath the stale odor of the container, she detected the slightest hint of lavender essence she had applied to her initial offspring's dermis. Her limbs buckled. She descended to the ground. The wrap pressed to her bosom as the verity she had surmised but never validated overwhelmed her. Her progeny had not perished. They had not been interred in the modest burial ground past the fruit grove where Eleanor alleged they reposed. They had been traded. Traded like livestock, like bundles of produce, like the commodities Josiah proclaimed them to be. In that instant, an element in Celia's core petrified. The droplets cascading from her eyes would be the final ones shed purely from sorrow. Henceforth, she would reserve her lacrimae for an alternative objective, one necessitating years to accomplish, but arriving as inevitably as yield succeeds cultivation. Darkness enveloped Marrow Estate, cloaking the structures in obscurity. Celia staggered toward the barns, the bloodied wrap gripped in her quivering palms. The revelation scorched within her, a conflagration poised to devour all. Jonas was repairing a harness when she materialized at the entry, her countenance streaked with moisture, her gaze frenzied with anguish. "Youngster, what has transpired?" He set aside his labor, casting anxious glances toward the principal dwelling. Before she could reply, Miriam materialized from the gloom. The venerable female took one glance at Celia and the wrap in her grasp, and insight illuminated her seasoned features. "You've discovered it," Miriam stated, her voice a mere breath. Celia assented with a nod, incapable of vocalizing through the constriction in her larynx. "Come," Miriam grasped her elbow delicately. "Not in this spot. Even shadows listen." They stealthily moved behind the barns to a modest glade where the fragrant hay intermingled with nocturnal blooms. The lunar glow provided sufficient illumination to discern one another's expressions. Jonas trailed discreetly, maintaining vigilance. "My little ones," Celia eventually gasped, unfurling the stained wrap. "She traded them. She claimed they passed, but she traded them." "Indeed," Miriam affirmed, clasping Celia's hands in hers. "Mrs. Marrow disposes of them to dealers who arrive at first light. The owner remains ignorant until too late." "But the stain," Celia queried, her tone fracturing. Jonas interjected then, his resonant voice gentle yet infused with indignation. "To lend credibility to tales of their demise. Likely fowl's blood, sufficient to persuade Master Josiah upon his return from excursions." Celia descended to her knees in the soil, hugging the wrap to her torso. "I'll never behold them again." "No," Miriam conceded candidly. "And that's the fate numerous mothers endure here. But you're not concluded, lass." Celia glanced upward, bewilderment blending with her mourning. "You yet draw breath," Miriam persisted, lowering herself despite her advanced age. "As long as you inhale, options exist, meager perhaps, but yours." "What options?" Celia inquired acerbically. "I'm chattel akin to my offspring." "Wisdom," Jonas proposed, squatting beside them. "They may possess your form, but not your intellect, not unless permitted," Miriam concurred. "I've resided on this terrain for 4 decades, witnessed 3 lineages of Marrows. They presume omniscience regarding occurrences here." A subtle, rebellious grin graced her lips. "They err." Something ignited in Celia, a minuscule ember amid her heart's remnants. "Instruct me," she breathed. "Impart all." Miriam's gaze sparkled under the moonbeams. "I'll educate you on flora that mend and those that injure, that induce slumber and those that enforce quietude." And I'll teach you symbols, Jonas appended, to interpret their script and uncover their confidences. Celia regarded each visage alternately, these survivors of prolonged servitude who had preserved their essences intact. Why endanger yourselves for my sake? Miriam caressed Celia's cheek softly. Because each link severed grants us incremental liberty. That evening initiated Celia's tutelage. Thrice weekly, she would evade to convene with Miriam in the plant enclosure, mastering identification of vegetation by scent and texture in obscurity. Foxglove, Miriam would articulate, directing Celia's digits to the plush, downy foliage. Lovely blossom halts a heartbeat if mishandled, or correctly, based on necessity. This is belladonna, she elucidated another eve. A droplet in infusion prompts rest. Excess yields eternal repose. Miriam conveyed which botanicals could suture wounds, mitigate agony, induce menstrual cycles, or halt them. Lore transmitted across eras, murmured from matriarch to progeny, safeguarded despite efforts to obliterate it. Jonas instructed differently, via remnants of material and soil etchings. He introduced alphabets and lexemes, commencing with basic strokes and phonetics, advancing to elementary terms. This represents your designation, he declared one dusk, inscribing CELIA in the dust aft the curing shed. Celia traced the forms with her digit, sensing an odd potency in visualizing her identity manifested anew. My designation, she echoed, etching each contour and stroke into recollection. Months transitioned to years. Celia's proficiencies expanded concurrent with her sorrow's load. Her physique persisted in fulfilling Josiah's malevolent aim, producing heir after heir, solely to forfeit them. Yet her cognition evolved into her clandestine domain. By her tertiary year of scholarship, Celia could decipher basic excerpts from the scripture Jonas concealed in the barns. By the quintennial, she could decode the accounts in Josiah's office during sanitation. Therein she located ultimate corroboration, arrays of figures and appellations. Her progeny cataloged as assets beside harvest outputs and beasts. Joseph, 2 weeks of age, transferred to J. Williams, Charleston, $100. Mary, 3 months old, conveyed to P. Thompson, Atlanta, $150. Isaiah, 1 year, dispatched to G. Bennett, Savannah, $300. The meticulous calligraphy, the exact numerals. A leaner script documenting the disposal of her husband's illegitimate issue, as she termed them. Aft the curing shed, in a minor soil patch unobserved, Celia fashioned her personal chronicle. For each progeny she interred a fabric remnant with their monograms stitched by her hand, 12 diminutive parcels overall, arrayed circularly. Not sepulchres, for her offspring weren't deceased, but memorials of recollection. Seasons revolved, vernal periods with their aromatic optimism, estival with their merciless warmth, autumnal with gatherings, and hibernal with brief relief from agrarian toil. Throughout, Celia's form sustained its sequence of gestation, nativity, and deprivation. By her latter 20s, she had delivered 12 progeny across 16 annums. Her formerly juvenile countenance now bore sorrow's furrows, her palms roughened from drudgery. Yet an internal transformation occurred. Where fear and lament once dominated, a constant blaze of intent now smoldered. Each twilight, she intoned her progeny's designations like an invocation, imprinting every gleaned detail of their destinations. One dawn, as daybreak extended over the terrains, Celia positioned at the laundering chamber's pane, observing conveyances traverse the path to Savannah. She pondered, as frequently, if a progeny of hers might occupy such a vehicle, relocated from one custodian to another. "I'll locate you," she murmured, her exhalation misting the vitreous. "Somehow, sometime, I'll discover you all." The dawn pigmented the firmament in aureate and roseate tones, a splendor seemingly deriding humanity's barbarity, yet Celia derived vigor from it regardless. Another existence day signified another for acquisition, remembrance, scheming. The rumble of coach tires on the pebbled pathway drew Celia to the aperture. Josiah had absented for 3 days on mercantile affairs in Savannah, and his reentries invariably altered the domicile's cadence, some minor, others transformative. This instance, she perceived something that halted her pulse. Two youths alighted from the vehicle, their complexion paler than hers yet duskier than Josiah's. One stood erect and dignified despite juvenility, approximately 10 annums. The other, ostensibly identical in age but diminutive, maintained downward gaze. Both attired in neat yet plain garb, superior to agrarian laborers but denoting servitors. Josiah positioned a palm on each youth's shoulder, directing them to the abode. Even remotely, Celia discerned his regard for them with that specific conceit reserved for his most prized holdings. She clutched the ledge for stability. Those were her traits reflected. The contour of her orbs, the arc of her zygomatics, the carriage of their frames. These were her male offspring. Celia. Aliner's piercing call severed her stupor. Cease starring and ready the minor chamber by the kitchen. The proprietor has returned with fresh domestic lads. Celia pivoted, striving to maintain impassivity. Yes, madam. She proceeded mechanically through the residence, preparing the confined space for the youth's repose. Her thoughts surged with inquiries. Which deliveries were they from? Perhaps the third and fourth. She had borne twins once. Might these be them? Or from distinct gestations united by fate's cruel irony. An hour thence, she positioned in the culinary as Josiah introduced the youths to the staff. This is William, he indicated the smaller, milder youth, and this is Henry. The taller lad met all gazes audaciously, a spark of rebellion in his eyes that constricted Celia's heart with pride and apprehension. They'll undergo training as indoor attendants, Josiah proceeded. William will function mainly within, Henry will aid with barns and commissions, handle them suitably. His gaze swept the area, lingering momentarily on Celia. She kept her eyes lowered, battling to regulate her respiration. Did he suspect? Was this a perverse amusement, returning her progeny to labor in the birthplace abode? Celia, Josiah uttered, startling her. You'll demonstrate their responsibilities. Yes, Master Josiah, she responded, her voice fortunately stable. The lads trailed her through the domicile as she elucidated their chores, buffing metallurgy, transporting platters, delivering communiques. William attended diligently, his tender disposition apparent in his cautious handling of objects. Henry's focus wandered, his eyes perpetually scanning, evaluating portals and passages, gauging spans. You'll arise pre-dawn, she informed them softly upon reaching the kitchen, and toil until post-evening clearance. Recall too, she halted, abruptly unable to proceed as Henry regarded her directly. Her own orb stared back from her son's countenance. Madam, William queried, his tone mild and solicitous. Are you all right? Celia gulped. Yes, merely fatigued, she compelled continuation. Recall to vocalize only when addressed. Maintain lowered gaze when the proprietor or lady speaks. Why? Henry contested, his voice subdued yet ardent. Celia surveyed rapidly, relieved the kitchen momentarily vacant. She inclined nearer to the lads. Because it preserves you, she whispered, and preservation matters utmost. The ensuing weeks constituted a peculiar torment. Celia observed her sons navigate the abode, mastering duties, acclimating to Marrow Estate's tempos. She absorbed them avidly, amassing particulars like invaluable gems. William's custom of murmuring tunes during labor. Henry's agile intellect and swifter limbs, the identical head tilt when attending. She shielded them subtly. When Henry spilled pigment on the study rug, Celia materialized with a concoction erasing the blemish pre-Aliner's detection. When William fractured a beverage vessel, she diverted scrutiny by toppling linens. She imparted expedients for tasks. Cautioned of Aliner's dispositions, revealed safe edibles from the kitchen for gnawing hunger in developing forms, all while withholding the devastating truth. Aliner perceived. Celia caught her observing with constricted eyes one midday as she instructed William napkin folding, her hand briefly contacting his. You appear exceptionally engaged with the new lads, Aliner noted later, her tone misleadingly nonchalant. They're swift learners, madam, Celia replied, visage expressionless. Eases my labors when tasks are known. Aliner examined her protractedly. Truly, though Henry exhibits a rather obstinate tendency, excessive indulgence might prove imprudent. The menace lingered between them. Celia comprehended perfectly. Alina harbored suspicions, and Henry would suffer any lapses repercussions. Celia exercised greater caution thereafter, restricting interactions when observable. Yet in fleeting instances, corridor passages, parallel kitchen work, she conveyed benevolence unobtrusively. One dusk, as the abode subsided into nocturnal hush, Celia delivered fresh fabrics to the lad's modest chamber. William sat upon his bedding while Henry positioned at the tiny pane, gazing into obscurity. "You both ought slumber," she murmured softly, depositing the bundle. William elevated his gaze, his countenance candid and inquisitive in the wax light. "Why do you regard us thus?" he queried abruptly. Celia sensed her pulse falter. "Thus how?" "As if committing our features to memory," he elaborated, "as if fearing our vanishing." Henry pivoted from the pane, his eyes keen and evaluative in a manner unsuitable for youth. He remained silent, yet his stare posed identical inquiry. Celia's throat constricted. These were her sons, her kin, her lineage. Every impulse urged embracing them, revealing verity, claiming them. But that disclosure would annihilate all. She compelled a grin, repelling imminent tears. "Because you evoke someone from my past." The wax illumination danced across her features, capturing ocular moisture before she averted. In ensuing quietude, she felt Henry's scrutiny penetrating her rear, seeking the concealed truth. Not presently. 4 cycles arrived and departed, denoting time as all at Marrow Estate was quantified, by cultivation and yield, by gain and deficit. The fiber crops towered anew, then sagged under bounty's weight. Males and females stooped in terrains from aurora to twilight, their spines arched like interrogatives against the heavens. Celia, now 33, traversed the grand abode with subdued command. Her attractiveness had mellowed with maturity and adversity, juvenility's sharpness yielding to enduring resilience, akin to rock sculpted by relentless currents. Josiah ceased nocturnal visits. His desires shifted to fresher females lately procured from Savannah's bids. She mourned not this alteration. Beauty's diminution bestowed alternate liberty, to survey, to heed, to strategize. Josiah now entrusted her with household oversight, with repository keys waiting her waist, with directing junior attendants including her sons. "Beware the azure container on the upper ledge," Miriam advised one midday in the distillation chamber, where botanicals dangled dehydrating from beams. "That's ebony root. A measure purifies the vital fluid. Excess." The elder's gaze met hers significantly. "I grasp," Celia affirmed, memorizing placement. She knew healing flora and harmful, pain-relieving and life-terminating. She cultivated her minor plot after the culinary structure, nurturing spearmint and oregano masking others' acridity. None queried this, anticipated for chief domestic to grow condiments for proprietor's board. The jangling repository keys comforted, promised. She learned lantern fluid's traits. Some combusted cleanly, others fumed and ignited. Which timbers decayed swiftest post-precipitation, which portals expanded in estival warmth, which opened soundlessly post-midnight. Jonas, now chauffeur with sporadic dock voyages in Savannah, delivered murmured updates and occasionally missives, folded remnants conveyed by empathetic mariners or emancipated males on coastal vessels. 3 reached northward, he informed one dusk after the curring shed, voice scarcely audible over insect choruses. Philadelphia, uncertain which precisely, but informant states they're thriving, acquiring vocations. Celia pressed palm to lips, eyes shutting briefly against intertwined agony and aspiration. "My progeny," she breathed, unshackled. Jonas assented, his seasoned features grave in waning light. "The remainder," he shook head slightly. "Still inquiring, still probing." She nodded, accepting residual uncertainty. 9 yet elusive, dispersed like seeds across holdings from Virginia to Louisiana. Or perhaps in anonymous tombs, or like these 3, inhaling liberty's air beyond grasp. William and Henry stayed proximate, their presence salve and injury. She witnessed their maturation, William contemplative and prudent, Henry's ardor simmering beneath compliance. Neither knew truth, though occasionally she caught Henry examining her features, as if unraveling an enigma just beyond comprehension. Precipitation and aridity, fiber and chill. Anims folded upon her like burdensome folios. Josiah amassed greater riches, a leaner heightened bitterness. The holding enlarged, absorbing adjacent terrains when lesser cultivators faltered. More individuals arrived fettered, eyes mirroring Celia's initial shock. She assisted when feasible, smoothing their assimilation into ceaseless toil. Some regarded her resentfully, the key-bearing chief domestic with relative ease. Others discerned scars beneath composure, recognizing kindred endurance. On an autumnal dusk, air redolent of timber fumes and frost, Jonas slipped another missive amid harvest banquets' disarray. She concealed it in apron fold, digits tracing edges through evening as she oversaw table clearance and utensil cleansing. Only later, in her kitchen-adjacent chamber's seclusion, did she unfold coarse parchment. Script uneven, pigment blurred by marine mist or perhaps lacrimae. Tidings from north, 3 sharing your lineage secured positions in shoemakers, typographers, and academy. They recall not of south but bear your resilience. Your lineage thrives unshackled. No endorsement, no designations matching remembered visages but irrelevant. 3 progeny, perhaps eldest, initial wrenched from embrace, inhaled liberty, mastered crafts, perhaps literacy. Beyond her pain, tempest amassed. Gusts curved arboreals like petitioners, initial hefty droplets striking glass. Lightning flared, momentarily illuminating modest chamber, narrow bedding, solitary seat, diminutive container beneath planks housing treasures. Infant's dentition, childhood fabric scraps she never observed. Thunder reverberated as she pressed parchment to lips, tasting salinity of tears, hers or scribes, unknowable. Your lineage thrives unshackled, she intoned to self, words evolving prayer vow. Thus I can thrive too. Tempest raged externally, but internally something serene and resolute rooted. She meticulously refolded missive, placing with others beneath plank, then perched on bedding edge, heeding precipitation, envisioning shoemakeries, printing establishments, academies distant north. Dawn's radiance cascaded over polished main hall flooring as Celia directed daily sanitation. William, now 15, labored assiduously beside, slender digits maneuvering cloth in meticulous designs across mahogany console. As he toiled, gentle harmony escaped his lips, a subdued humming filling interspace. Celia's palms halted midway, melody hovered familiar as pulse, a cradle song Miriam imparted years prior sung to each babe pre-seizure, notes slightly altered yet tune unmistakable. From whence that melody? She queried, voice hushed. William elevated gaze, startled. Uncertain. Aged Miriam sang it when I was tiny before he ceased, eyes dropping to labor. Miriam departed since hibernal. Elder birth attendant passed tranquilly in slumber, leaving Celia sans maternal, pedagogical, amicable figure. Holding felt vacant sans her sagacity. Lovely melody, Celia remarked cautiously, resuming toil. My matriarch intoned similar long ago. William beamed, expression transmuting solemn features. Feels eternally known. Because it is, Celia pondered, heart throbbing. I intoned it pre your eyes opened. Throughout day, melody pursued. She heard in plank creaks, arboreal winds, utensil clatters, as if Miriam orchestrated instants, propelling Celia toward long-concealed verity. That dusk post-abode nocturnal silence Celia evaded to lad's modest hut. Moon cast elongated shades across courtyard as she traversed structures, steps honed and mute. She rapped lightly. William unlatched, surprise evident. Miss Celia, I must converse with you both, she stated. May I enter? Hut sparse yet tidy, 2 slender beddings, minor table. Single seat. Henry arose, instantly vigilant, eyes cautious in solitary wax's dim glow. Issue, he queried. At 16, features hardening into impending manhood, mandible set in perpetual defiance. Not amiss, Celia replied, sealing portal but verity requiring utterance. She seated on William's bedding edge, smoothing apron with quivering palms. How commence? Rehearsed words scattered like alarmed avians. That melody you hummed today, William, she eventually uttered. I know because I sang when you birthed. Confusion traversed his features. Incomprehensible. Henry inclined forward, eyes narrowing. What imply? Celia inhaled deeply. Implying pre-main abode, pre-servitude, you birthed in kitchen rear hut, implying I cradled you both at world's entry. Comprehension dawned gradually on William, but Henry swifter. "You're our matriarch," he stated flatly, not inquiry. Celia nodded, tears filling orbs. "Yes." Ensuing silence extended eons. William's expression morphed confusion to awe to anguish. Henry's remained rigid, yet flicker behind eyes fury or acknowledgement, undiscernible. "Why withhold?" William eventually queried, voice fracturing. "Incapable," she whispered. "They'd trade you southward if known you identified me." Alina ensured others traded preface memory. "You two retained solely because Josiah desired," she halted, unable finish. "Desired sons proximate," Henry concluded, tone acerbic. "Own blood serving." Celia assented, observing truth settle like ponderous coverlet. "I've guarded as able," she proceeded. "Daily seen known though unclaimable." William's features crumpled, appearing younger than 15. He grasped her hand tightly. "I'll safeguard you," he vowed, voice ardent despite softness. "None harm again." Henry rose abruptly, packing confined space. "Safeguard insufficient," he declared. "Should combat flee, places exist." "Jonah's knows northern paths," Celia concurred. "Urged me oft." "Then why not?" Henry demanded. Celia regarded eldest living son, Josiah's traits transfigured by her determination. "Not presently," she murmured. "Roots here must incinerate first." Later that night in her modest chamber, Celia knelt before hearth, embers glowing. From pocket she extracted small blade, kitchen pilfered years prior, concealed. She thought of Miriam, departed since last chill, claimed by persistent cough. Elders' lessons remained, botanical and curative lore, toxins and forbearance. "Direct my hand, ancient matron," she whispered to gloom. Carefully she nicked finger with blade's tip. Blood bead emerged, dark in firelight. She extended over small water basin pre-hearth, observing blood plummet into lucid fluid, diffusing like pigment. "For each drop extracted," she intoned softly, "I'll extract one." Hearth embers shifted, emitting light flare reflecting in eyes. In that instant, with sanguine-tinted water and son's knowledge slumbering across yard, something solidified in Celia's core, not mere ire but objective. Flame captured cheek tears, rendering them lustrous like refined crystal. Rigid entities form in blaze. Evening repast chime resonated across Marrow Estate as summer sun lingered low. Celia traversed dining chamber swiftly, finalizing table adornments, buffed metallurgy gleaming beside exquisite porcelain, fresh blossoms centered. Leaner absented 3 days visiting sibling in Savannah, leaving Josiah solitary dining. William assisted, movements precise. Since truth revelation 2 weeks prior, he lingered near, easing burdens subtly, bearing heavier loads, completing pre-request. Each act silent bond acknowledgement. "Proprietors preferred vintage chilled," William murmured, adjusting goblet. Celia nodded, faint smile. "Gratitude." Dining portal burst open forcefully, porcelain rattling. Josiah loomed, visage crimson with wrath. Timepiece dangling from fist. "You," he thundered, indicating William. "Pilferer." William retreated, confusion etched. "Sir." "Feign not innocence, lad." Josiah advanced, carrying whiskey tobacco scent. "Grandfather's timepiece in desk morn, now stable, wrapped your garment." Celia's pulse stuttered. "Master Josiah, error must—" "Quiet," Josiah roared, redirecting fury. "Solicited your view." William rigid, eyes wide terror. "Master never touched timepiece." "Swear on what?" Josiah mocked. "Worthless existence, caught you letters from her." Head jerked Celia. "Now thieving, next, flight." Celia interposed between Josiah and William. "Master William with me all day, couldn't, accusing falsehood my house." Josiah's voice dropped, menacing whisper. Chamber silence. External insects commenced dusk symphony, oblivious internal tempest. "Please," Celia whispered, forsaking dignity. "Merely lad, if missing I'll locate, replace." Josiah's laugh chilled. "With what?" Faded allure, Celia. "Not barter." He moved swiftly, seizing William collar. "Learn thief consequence Marland." "No." Celia reached, but Josiah shoved, sprawling her against table. Crockery crashed. "Overseer," Josiah summoned, dragging William portal. "Whip yard." "Henry," Celia screamed, stables ward. "Henry, aid." Across yard, bondspeople emerged, huts drawn, commotion. Jonah's materialized shed, features somber. 2 pale supervisors flanked Josiah, obstructing Celia's path. 20 strokes, Josiah commanded, thrusting William postward. "No, 30, all witness." "Mother," William gasped, forbidden term escaping panic. Josiah froze, grip tightening. Called her what? Terror flooded Celia, scrambling feet. Meant not, master, confused. Mother, Josiah reiterated, glancing between with dawning, features twisted rage. Told him, dared tell my servant. Release him, Celia cried. Take me, flog me. But Josiah dragged William through. Worsened lad much. Celia pursued, skirts entangling legs, stumbling porch. Evening air cooled, yet sweat streamed face. Henry erupted stables, features distorted fury. He dashed yard, motion rage blur. Halt, she roared, launching at whip overseer. Second caught mid-leap, grounding him. Josiah nodded, two more dragged Henry, screams echoing. Fetter him, Josiah ordered coldly. Louisiana buyers dawn, pay well strong rebels. Whip ascended, descended. William's wails diminished each stroke. Blood flowed dark streams back, dripping packed soil. Celia struggled fiercer, skin tearing ropes. Henry reached throng, shoving bondspeople. Halt, he bellowed but detained. Whip rose, fell. William's cries weakened. Blood rivers back, dripping earth. Celia ceased struggling. Internal quietude, not capitulation, terrible stillness. She observed unblinking as son's life shredded, stroke by stroke. By 20th, William limp post. By 30th, silent. Night complete when cut down. Body crumpled like discarded toy. Throng dispersed mute, heads bowed, feet shuffling horror. Celia, unbound, crawled son. Face peaceful, pain-free, she gathered, rocking gently. My wondrous boy, she whispered, lips forehead. Josiah observed porch steps, swirling whiskey. Clear this, ordered no one. Keep other fettered till buyers. Pre-dawn, house slumbered, Celia excavated grave beneath magnolia. Jonah's aided carrying William's shrouded body, linen closet sheet. Lowered gently earth. Henry, she queried, voice empty. Fettered shed, Jonah's whispered. Guarded, inaccessible. Celia nodded, face stone as shoveled soil son's body. Grave filled, she knelt, fingers smoothing. Took my form, whispered, eyes distant Josiah's slumber window. Took progeny, now take your designation. Dawn crept horizon as stood, brushing soil hands, tears dried, tracks scarring cheeks. She regarded Josiah's illuminated pain, lamp burning. Tomorrow, stated steady, cold. Reckoning commences. Morning glow filtered grand kitchen curtains. Celia moved purposeful calm, preparing morn tea tray. Copper pot whistled stove. Lifted ease, pouring steaming over delicate leaves Aliner's favored porcelain. 3 days post-William interment. 3 since Henry traded south. 3 silence, planning. Aliner returned Savannah Eve prior, new laces perfumes, unaware transpired absence. Retired early, travel fatigue, leaving Celia unpack trunks, prepare quarters. House awakening summer day, Celia added sugar tea, paused. Glanced doorway, ensuring solitude, reached apron pocket. Fingers closed Miriam's remedy pouch, hidden floorboard quarters. Moment eyes closed, recalling Miriam's seasoned hands guiding plants off-curring shed. This prompts sleep, elder whispered, indicating nocturnal white blooms. This mitigates pain, twisted root. This, finger dark berry. This liberates spirit when agony unbearable. Quantity, Celia queried faintly. Mercy, 3 seeds crushed. Justice, Miriam's eyes met. Entire berry. Now Celia opened pouch, extracted dried wrinkled berry. Crushed fingers, dark juice staining skin. Unhesitating, stirred, crushed into Aliner's tea, dark specks vanishing amber. Changed fragile porcelain cup, silver tray, added cream pitcher, placed fresh biscuits, honey pot. All impeccable, as Aliner insisted. All routine. Mistress's tray, Lydia, young kitchen aide, queried entering. Celia nodded, face blank. Yes, delivering now. Seemed irritable last night, Lydia lowered voice, inquiring Master Josiah's activities absence. Mistress desires all knowledge, Celia replied, lifting tray. Hence personal service. Ascended primary stairs, balancing tray years grace. Heart steady, neither racing nor faltering. Outside Aliner's portal, paused, deep breath knocked. Admit, sharp response. Aliner marrow-propped pillows, blonde tresses, night braids, face pallid sands powder. At 43 battled time creams potions, but not concealed bitterness lines mouth. Morn tea, madam, Celia stated, setting tray bedside. Aliner observed narrowed eyes. Seem altered morn, Celia. Celia poured steady hand. Do I, madam? Yes. Nearly tranquil. Aliner frowned. Heard disturbance absence. Boy's issue. Celia handed cup. Master Josiah can inform if wishes. Alina inhaled fragrant vapor. Been oddly quiet, not bed last night. Sipped, grimaced, tastes odd. New leaves Savannah, madam desired stronger. Alina nodded, distracted, another sip. William not seen mourn. Celia adjusted curtains, admitting light. Gone, madam. Gone, Alina frowned, cup mid-lips. Meaning Henry. Sold, Celia stated simply, facing mistress. Both departed. Alina set cup, unease flickering. Josiah not mention selling. Not mention you sold first either, Celia stated, voice flat. Alina's color drained. Dare speak thus, I'll have stopped, gasping, fingers chest. What occurring? Commences pressure, Celia calm, watching struggle breath. Then scorching, then obscurity. Alina lunged, bell cord bed, limbs heavy, uncoordinated, cup fell, shattering floor. Aid, gasped, voice weak, carry. None arrive, Celia stated, immobile. Not timely. Alina's eyes widened comprehension. Poisoned. Yes, Celia nodded. Same you poison hope annually. Alina slid bed, nightgown tangling, legs crawling door, breathing short, painful. Why, whispered. Celia knelt beside, not aid, ensure heard. Because observed, knew his deeds, took progeny punish his sins. Alina's form convulsed, digits clawing carpet. Sweat beaded forehead, fighting venom veins. See cherubs pre-morn, Celia whispered close. Doubt reception. Alina's final exhalation rattled, eyes fixed, Celia's final comprehension. Then immobility. Celia knelt minutes, observing death settle, woman orchestrated suffering. Felt neither elation nor regret, merely quiet fulfillment, task done. Rising slowly, straightened covers, mopped spilled tea, collected shards. Placed Alina bed, arranging slumbering. Door met Jonah's hallway watch. Accomplished, quietly, Jonah's eyes solemn. Depart now, pre-discovery, boat river landing, gone nightfall. Celia shook head. Not yet, one sin inter. Josiah slay you finds her, Jonah's warned. Celia's lips ghost smile, no chance denied, walked past stairs kitchen, washed poison vessel thoroughly, movement systematic. Drying, thought Miriam, elder pressed berry pouch hand, winter pre-death. Not pain, Miriam whispered, justice. Time arrives, Miriam taught grave, knowledge generations women endured unendurable. Placed clean vessel cabinet, face serene. One eliminated, murmured toward master's office, soon working. One remains. Twilight descended, Marrow estate heavy gloom. Thunder distant, promising storm pending. House silent, morning manor. Alina Marrow discovered deceased, bed afternoon, tragedy, weak heart. Josiah raged, wept, locked study, whiskey bottle. Now last light faded, servant knocked door. Master Josiah summoned. Celia's voice soft, deferential, crash within, glass wall. Enter, slurred. Celia stepped, face blank. Josiah slouched, leather, neckcloth undone, eyes red, drink grief. Empty bottle side fireplace, half-empty desk. Prepare another, commanded, gesturing carafe. Poured amber crystal, nodding hands shake reach, drained swallow. New, asked sudden, bloodshot fixing. New ill, no, Master Josiah evenly. Mistress well yesterday, slammed glass. Deity seizes all, first sons, now wife. Celia silent blasphemy. Moved straightened desk papers, servant gesture, innocuous expected. Leave, snapped. Voice softened. Approach, Celia approached beyond reach. Sole remainder, murmured maudlin drunk. Always favorite, beautiful Celia. Something show, quietly, eyebrows raised. What show? Kept us. Back door, old nursery, interest flickered, nursery, unused years. Prepared, said, tonight. Comprehension dawned, lust mixed. Despite grief or because craved solace, diversion. Guide, said, feet struggling. Celia led darkened corridors, stairs, east wing, nursery once housed legitimate progeny, fever deceased pre-Celia. Room empty years, Alina maintained shrine, never entered. Celia opened. Inside, oil lamps glowed corners, light soft inviting. Old bassinet aside, pallet floor, clean linens. This, Josiah asked, swaying doorway. Place us, Celia answered, steady. Place remembering, stepped inside, drawn warmth promise. Followed, closing door. Lock clicked, almost inaudible. Josiah turned noise, confusion momentary. Locked? Yes. Celia moved table, familiar bound book open. Didn't disturb, he snorted, relaxing. Good, now here, first read you said, lifting ledger. Own words, Josiah frowned, talking, down, Joseph Marrow began clear, precise. Born April 3, 1828. Sold November 15, 1828. Price $150. Color drain Josiah got study. Record every child bred body. Turn page. Mary Marrow. Born January 17, 1829. Sold February 22, 1830. Price $180. Stop commanded toward. Celia continued away reach. Samuel Marrow, born December 1, 1830, sold August 10, 1831. Price $200. Voice unwavering. Thomas Marrow, born July 4, 1832. Sold September 3, 1833. Price $250. Enough. Josiah lunged, drunk, clumsy. Stumbled bassinet, crashing lamp. Lamp tipped, spilling floor. Celia Reed, voice rising, curses. Sarah Marrow, born March 15, 1834. Sold October 12, 1835. Price $300. Said stop, shouted, balance regained. Stop, begged. Celia asked, eyes flint. Stop, children cried. Moved next, lamp tipping deliberately. Oil spread floor toward first. Heavy scent filled, doing, fear, voice. Lost mind, found, corrected. Book numbers, graves dug, never buried. Josiah eyes door, danger, understanding. Celia think, give freedom, money, want children back simply. Give, tip, third lamp, oil splash pallet, please, beg, door backing, handle rattling, panic. Sorry, right, already replied, final lamp reaching, taught everything, price. Lifted lamp head, flame flickered glass, including you, swift, hurled feet, glass shattered. Flame touched oil, fire bloomed, terrible flower spreading rapid. Josiah screamed, back jumping flames. Celia wall, pressing panel inward. Servant passage, Josiah unknown, Jonah's shown years. Slipped as Josiah lunged, door locked, handle, panic. Celia roared, voice terror breaking, don't leave. Through narrow, moved steps, counting darkness. Behind screams desperate, fire spread, smoke filled. Bottom, Jonah's waited, cloak hands. Done, said, taking, wrapping shoulders. Wagon ready, replied, leading servants, entrance, small cart, hitched, fastest horse. Behind, flames licked, nursery panes, dancing night. Spoke not, reins flicked, horse drive away, Marrow. Dawn, neighbors see smoke, ash. Call accident, divine retribution, pride. None search missing bonds, woman. None know justice her hand. Reached river, Celia back last. Mansion engulfed, flame storm clouds. Great house, 20 years suffering, collapsing, devouring legacy, stolen lives. Jonah's helped, rowboat landing, tide. Pushed shore, Celia watched, cave, sparks shower, sky. Bright lights falling, stars ruined. A boat skimmed black water, current aiding, Jonah's oar steady. Celia huddled stern, eyes fixed, orange glow, Marrow remains. Flames, high touch clouds. Air, smoke, rain. Cold wind, river, first drop, storm. Celia moved not, spoke not. Watched 20 captivity burn. Fire vanished, darkness swallowed, but tree outlines, night. Celia's body surrendered, slumped forward, head, chest. Celia, Jonah's soft. No response, guided shore, cove, willows hidden. Secured, side moved. Done, said, shoulder gentle. Free. Eyes opened, glassy exhaustion. Not yet, whispered, far away. Jonah's nodded, rest. Watch, argued not. Body hollow, emptied, rage, grief, fear, leaving weariness, bone deep. Curled bottom, cloak, mattress, blanket. Above, willow gaps, stars flickered, burning sparks. Sleep instant, dreamless, black. Woke, pale morn light, trees. Jonah's oars, face fatigue-lined, eyes alert. Rain past, damp, wet earth. Move, said, awake, seeing, searching soon. Celia sat slow, muscles aching, boat bottom. How far? Far enough now, replied, pushing shore. Followed tributary, north, safe point. Traveled day. Stopping, drink, spring, eat, cornbread packed. Sunset, weathered dock, clearing. Lantern post, flame, dusk barely. Tall black man, trees stepped, approached. Nodded, Jonah's. Late. Unavoidable, Jonah's replied, helping Celia boat. Brother Thomas, next safe. Brother Thomas assessed, kind, cautious eyes. Walk 10 miles tonight, Celia back straightened. Walk freedom requires. Smiled, missing tooth. Spirit north gets. Along, night began Celia's journey. Long hidden cellars, attics, night travel, strangers risking all help. Some black, white spoke deity, others equity. All recognized, eyes fire, name said. True name, not Josiah's. Summer, fall, fall, winter. Crossed rivers, rafts, makeshift, slept barns, hay beneath. Once 3 days, wagon, false bottom, slave, hunter territory. Throughout, carried bundle, Josiah ledger, pouch, William grave, soil. Spring, Ohio Quaker settlement, Celia fever ill. Weeks drifted consciousness dark dreams William called flames eyelids. Quaker woman gentle hands nursed, hymns singing Miriam remedies wisdom evoked. Fever broke woman news heart leap. Preacher Kentucky traveling mentioned youth Henry escaped Louisiana transport. Canada reached married newborn daughter Celia named. Son lives woman told hand holding. Blood continues. Words strength continue gave. Late summer Pennsylvania reached Jonah's meet arranged. Spent night small cabin elderly couple helping runaways 30 years. Part ways Jonah's fire sat told, heading Canada thaw, safe here till. Celia studied face age hardship line quiet strength known. Why help years Jonah's silent long, saw man not tool, and hesitated couldn't save own family but help save you. Morning left blessing small knife bundle tucked. Remember walked away your Celia now not property, never property again. Stayed Pennsylvania winter working widow questions no past. Spring, news fugitive slave act strengthened. America no truly safe. Celia North further moved, name changing, blending free black communities story one many. Years passed. Wrinkles eyes corners. Gray hair threaded. Kept moving, working, surviving till day letter Canadian postmarks, Henry's careful handwriting. Mother began simply, found you last. 3 months later, small cabin Canadian border near, Celia window sat, cradling granddaughter. Baby, 6 weeks, Henry's eyes, Celia's chin determined. Outside, wildflowers breeze nodded, faces sun turned. Your 13th, Celia whispered, sleeping infant. Firstborn free. Baby stirred, tiny fingers air grasping till Celia's weathered hand found, held tight. Celia smiled, feeling life pulse grip strong. As twilight gathered, rocked slow, whispering names silence. Joseph, Mary, Samuel, Thomas, Sarah, litany lost children, some death, most human commerce cruel. Spent years tracing rumors, whispers following, but most smoke vanished. Some lost, murmured, lips forehead pressing, some freed, all live me. Infant eyes opened, grandmother gazing, unclouded fear ownership. Moment, Celia weight lift chest felt, not gone completely but lighter. Pain never leave, memories never fade. But child never lash no, never bear children master prophet, never watch Bobby's arms torn. Tried make vessel, Celia whispered, voice strong softness despite, instead became legacy. Outside last light sky faded. Inside grandmother child remained, 2 points unbroken line, one bondage formed, one freedom born, both precious equally, human equally, free equally. Believe stories find reason. If this touches, subscribe channel please. Share new daily. Meantime, 2 stories screen even.